All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a really controversial idea from D.M. Murdock's book, Christ in Egypt. The whole book is built around one central claim, that the story of Jesus might have incredibly deep roots in the much, much older religion of ancient Egypt. So let's just start with the image that's right there on the book's cover, because it kind of says it all without any words. On the left, you've got the Egyptian goddess Isis with her son Horus, and on the right, the Virgin Mary with Jesus. I mean, they are two incredibly iconic images of a divine mother and child, but they're separated by thousands of years. So the author immediately asks us to wonder, is this striking resemblance just a coincidence, or is it something more? So how does the book even begin to build this case? Well, it argues that the Christian story has these profound echoes in a faith that's way older, the faith of the ancient Egyptians. To frame this whole debate, the author brings in this quote from the famous mythologist Joseph Campbell, and it really sets up the central conflict, right? On one side, you have the view that the Gospels are talking about unique historical events that actually happened. But on the other side, you have the mythological view, that these are powerful symbols, not literal history. The book really wants us to look at the evidence through that mythological lens. And this brings us right to the heart of the book's claim. The big idea is that so many key parts of Christianity, the virgin birth, the miracles, the resurrection, are not unique at all. Instead, the book presents them as a kind of reworking of much older Egyptian beliefs, a continuation of an ancient tradition, not some totally new revelation. Now, to really get what the book is arguing, you have to understand the framework it's using, and that's the mythicist position. It's the idea that a figure like Jesus Christ might not have been a historical person whose life story got exaggerated over time. No, it's the idea that he was a mythological character from the very beginning, a composite figure created from older myths, maybe even symbolizing something like the sun, which dies every night and is reborn every morning. Okay, so let's dive into the first big set of parallels the book identifies. And it starts right where you'd expect, the story of the miraculous birth. So the author puts the nativity stories of Horus and Jesus side by side, and the alleged parallels are pretty startling. The book claims both had a virgin mother, and it even points to the Egyptian name Isis Mary as a possible precursor to Mary. It says both were born on December 25th, that both births were announced by a star in the east, and that both were attended by wise men. It's a lot of very specific overlap. And according to the book, these supposed similarities don't just stop with the nativity story. Not at all. The argument is that they continue right on through the lives and ministries of both figures. The book lays out this point-by-point comparison, basically suggesting there was a shared blueprint for their entire life stories. According to the author, many key events from the Gospels are presented as direct adaptations from the myths of Horus. For instance, being a child teacher in the temple at age 12, getting baptized at 30 by a figure called Anope the Baptizer, who was later beheaded, having 12 disciples, and performing miracles like healing the sick, walking on water, and even raising a man named Osiris from the dead, which the book directly connects to the Egyptian god Osiris. And the book keeps drawing these parallels all the way to the final dramatic acts of the story, the passion, the death, and of course the resurrection. Now, this is one of the most contentious claims in the whole book. Was the Egyptian god Horus crucified? Well, the book tackles this head-on, but it argues for a symbolic precedent, not a literal one. So the book's argument here is not that Horus was literally nailed to two pieces of wood. Instead, it points to all this ancient Egyptian imagery of gods standing with their arms outstretched, almost like a cross shape. The claim is that the symbolism of the cross, this pose of sacrifice, was already a huge deal in Egypt long before the Gospels were ever written. The book then breaks down the passion narrative from the Egyptian myths. It starts with betrayal by an enemy, Set. That's followed by a burial in a tomb for 3 days. And it all ends with a resurrection from the dead. The book argues this entire sequence is the central myth of Osiris, a god who is deeply tied to the story of Horus. So this all brings up a massive question, right? If these parallels are real, how on earth could ancient Egyptian ideas influence the people writing about Christianity centuries later? Well, the book suggests an answer that's rooted in geography and history. The book points to a specific place as the bridge, the city of Alexandria in Egypt. You have to picture it. For centuries, Alexandria was this incredible cosmopolitan hub, a real melting pot where Egyptian priests, Greek philosophers, and Jewish scholars were all living and working side by side, sharing ideas in amazing places like the Great Library. So why isn't there a smoking gun for all of this? The book explains that finding direct proof is incredibly difficult, and it points to a period of intense destruction. The argument is that as Christianity grew and became the official state religion, there was a systematic effort to suppress pagan beliefs, which led to the closure of temples and, crucially, the destruction of libraries and records that might have held the evidence of this connection. So in the end, the book's conclusion is that the Gospels aren't a historical record, at least not in the way we think of it today. It argues they're a masterpiece of myth-making, that the creators wove together this incredible patchwork of motifs, myths, sayings, and rituals from Egyptian, Jewish, and other traditions to create a powerful new story. And that's the central argument of Christ in Egypt. It's a case built on what the author sees as clear parallels in art, in stories, and in theology, and it leaves us with a pretty provocative final question to think about. If the core elements of our most sacred stories, like the virgin birth or the resurrected God, keep appearing over and over again in different cultures and across thousands of years, what does that tell us about the nature of myth itself?